Talking about birds. Oh, that was me. Alright. So there are a lot of birds that... Can we shut that window so... I don't know why that's open. There are a lot of birds that live primarily in or around the ocean. Actually, the birds aren't living underwater, but they're living in the ocean environment on islands and such. So we call them seabirds. And there's different classifications that we're going to learn today. They're all endothermic. Do you know what the word endothermic means?
Warm-blooded.
They're warm-blooded. They keep a high body temperature. That's like us. That means it might be 40 degrees outside and our bodies are 98.6. Birds' bodies are like that too. Some of them are even a lot warmer than our bodies. They have feathers coated with oil from glands on their beak. And what they'll do is they'll wipe that oil onto their feathers, and it'll make them waterproof. Have you ever heard the statement like water off a duck's back? You ever heard that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the water just rolls right off a duck because they got oil all over their feathers, and oil and water don't mix. So the water just rolls right off of them. And they have to keep wiping that oil onto their feathers as it kind of wears off. They all have a hard-shelled egg that gives them an extra protection. Remember, reptiles had a leathery egg. Birds are a hard shell. Some of them are colonial nesters. Not all of them, but some of them are colonial nesters, which means they all nest together in one area. You can have islands. There are a bunch of islands out there in the oceans where there's no people on the islands, and there'll be millions of birds all nesting kind of in a group. Protection of young. Almost all birds look after their babies. Instead of having a whole lot of kids and leaving them, like a lot of fish do, they just have a few kids, and they usually protect the kids that they have. Preening is a behavior where the bird reaches with its beak and straightens out each feather, one feather at a time. Because the feathers can get ruffled. And what you have to do is you have to go through each feather and use your beak to straighten it out. And preening also involves picking off old feathers that are damaged. So birds do this. You constantly see them sitting there messing with their feathers, keeping them straight, keeping them, getting rid of old ones and such. So we call that preening. Often birds have complex rituals for selecting mates, and I'll show you some of those rituals. Mating dances and such, and ways that they have to fly around. So these are just some general qualities of seabirds that goes with all the different types. Here are some pictures showing some various seabirds. You know what those are right there?
Emperor penguins.
Penguins. Who has my movie, March of the Penguins?
No.
What? Somebody has it?
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's here? Oh. You can rent March of the Penguins and watch it for extra credit. These are called boobies. You ever seen any boobies before? Ah, silliness. We have fun, don't we? I'll show you a bunch of pictures and video I took of blue-footed boobies in the Galapagos. There were other boobies down there, too. I'm talking about the birds. And what are these?
Seagulls.
The gannet is the largest seabird in North America. It nests in large colonies on offshore islands such as Bonaventure Island and Quebec, Canada, where 50,000 birds breed each year. I've never seen that one before. So let's start with penguins. So you're not only going to have to know about these types, but you're going to have to identify them by what they look like. To make it easy on you, I'll use pictures from the book. Okay? Penguins are flightless. I don't know why it says with thee. Just ignore with thee. Penguins can't fly. Did you know that? Their wings are modified into flippers, so they're very good swimmers. And they'll flap their wings underwater and it'll look like they're flying, but they're just pushing the water backwards. They can swim very fast. They swim and they hunt for their prey. They catch fish and little shrimp and krill. They mainly live in Antarctica. There are some South American penguins too, but most of them are in Antarctica. They have a thick layer of fat. It helps keep them warm. And they trap air in their feathers. So their feathers act like a fur coat for them. So they don't get cold. And finally, in penguins, the males and females share the parenting responsibilities. So the female looks after the eggs, and the male looks after the eggs. Often they only have one egg at a time. So you probably want to watch that movie, Flight of the Penguins, if you get a chance. It's pretty cool. How many of you have seen it? March of the Penguins. I mean, they can't fly. That was like a theatrical movie that came out about penguins several years ago. This is a Galapagos penguin. I took this picture when I was in the Galapagos. They had these things here and there. There's a cold current. Even though the Galapagos is on the equator, there's a cold current that comes up from the south, and so cold water comes up to the Galapagos. And these penguins kind of came up with the cold current. And they're adapted now to live on the Galapagos, and they can't really leave because they can't get back down there, so they're kind of stuck.
This is the emperor penguin.
Whoops. That wasn't any good.
This is the emperor penguin. The smaller cousins to the emperor penguin are the Adelie penguins. Their incredible swimming speed is very nearly matched by their performance on the ice as they try to outdistance would-be captors whose research requires study in a controlled environment. When pressed, the Adelies toboggan, which makes them seem to go even faster as they slide on their bellies rather than running upright. The daily nests, small collections of stones, are grouped into rookeries, safe breeding grounds which annually attract the penguins.
Here's another penguin video.
Penguins are a species of bird that stand upright and walk on short legs. They live only in the southern half of the world, many on the ice of the Antarctic. When nesting, penguins gather in enormous colonies called rookeries. Penguins are adapted to aquatic life. Their wings have evolved into flippers for swimming. Their dense coat of short feathers form a waterproof coat, and they have webbed feet that help to propel them swiftly through the water.
All right. Everybody likes penguins. Now the next group are called tube noses. They call them tube nose because they have this hollow tube in their beak. And they take in oxygen through that, and they also can make sounds with it. Albatrosses, shearwaters, and petrels are all tube noses. Skillful flyers and gliders. Tube noses are usually pretty big birds, but not always. They often have long migrations from Antarctica to the Arctic Circle. Think about that. They'll go all the way from the South Pole to the North Pole. Or almost from the South Pole. From Antarctica to the Arctic Circle. That's a long way. You're talking about 10,000 miles. They live in monogamous pairs. That means they get married, kind of, like humans do, and stay married for life, unlike humans. That is an albatross, that picture there. And you're going to have to identify these things by sight on the test. So I'll show you a picture, and you got to say that that's an albatross. Think you can do that? To get a good look at these things as we're going through them. Try and memorize, okay? We know what a penguin looks like. That's not a penguin. What is that? That's a tube nose. It's an albatross. See the little tube on his nose? Tube noses have distinctive tube-like nostrils and heavy beaks that are usually curved at the tips. I took these pictures of albatrosses in the Galapagos. That's our guide. He's doing their call. He could do their call just like them, and they would look at him. Tube noses have salt glands that squirt salt, excess salt that they get from their diet when they eat fish and stuff. Squirts the excess salt into their nose, and then it comes out of their nose. It's like runny salty snot. They're doing this little dance with one another, a mating dance. This is a video I took in the Galapagos. Those are the albatrosses. They're kind of dumb-looking birds. They're pretty funny. They'll come right up to you. They aren't scared of people in the Galapagos because they've never been hunted. Hanging out. Watching the albatross. They live next to these real high cliffs because they can't just take off and fly. The only way for them to start flying is to run off the edge of the cliff, and on the way down, open their wings up and swoop. So they only nest next to, they only land next to tall cliffs. So they can do this. And that's just because they're so heavy. Look, see, he's coming up and checking us out.
When they are fishing, they take 3 or 4 or 8 days, come back to the island. They understand that because birds like fishes and monkey birds can grab the egg and get hold of it from the egg. And when the egg is broken, also the listeners they get hold of it away.
That's our guys just telling us about them.
When the baby is born, they are feeding and protecting the baby all the time.
Really windy out there. These are called shear waters. They're also tube noses. It's harder to see their little tube nose though. You might be able to see it in that picture there. They don't have any pictures of shearwaters in your book. And those are called petrels. You can see that tube right there? That's a tube nose for sure. There's different kinds of petrels, storm petrels and such. Notice they have the curved beak at the end that curves downward. Downward sloping beak at the end. And the tube nose. So shearwaters, so albatrosses, shearwaters, and petrels. Those are all tube noses. And then you have your pelicans and birds that are related to pelicans. The birds that are related to pelicans are called cormorants and frigate birds. Pelicans have a pouch below their beak for catching fish. What the pelican will do is catch a fish and store it in its pouch. The brown pelican almost went extinct because of DDT. Remember that DDT was used to kill insects? Have y'all ever heard this story? And it got in the water, and it came up through the food chain. It got in the algae and stuff, and small fish ate the algae, and big fish ate the small fish. And each level of the food chain, all the poisons get in the organisms at the next level. And so as you go up the food chains, there's less and less organisms, and so the top organisms get all the poisons that all the organisms below them in the food chain have eaten. And so once you get to the top of the food chain, the amount of DDT that was in the bodies of these pelicans are real high, and they almost went extinct. I'll show you some pictures of cormorants and frigate birds. Those are also related to pelicans. Their excrement, that's their poop, helps make up guano. You ever heard that word before? Guano? It's bird poop. Or it's also bat poop is also called guano. But this poop is real high in phosphorus. It's got a lot of phosphorus in it. And phosphorus is real good for making fertilizer. And so when you buy fertilizer at the store, have you ever seen a bag of fertilizer at the store? It's probably made from bird poop, from guano. And the birds just go to the bathroom on the rocks and such, and the rocks build up, the sediments, sedimentary rock forms, and And so you just have layers of this phosphorus-rich rock that's from millions of years of birds pooping and it running off into the ocean and forming these sediments. And so this is this phosphate-rich rock, and it can be mined and just cut up into small pieces and made into fertilizer. And so Peru, Chile, Southwest Africa are places where these huge guano deposits exist.
Some makeup's made out of guano too.
Is it? Gross. I took this picture in the Galapagos also. It's a pelican. And I think I have some pictures of pelicans diving. This is a pelican just sitting on one of the little boats that was connected to our bigger boat. You jump in that little boat and it goes off. Is that it? Pelican flying away. Isn't that great? Okay, sorry. That is a booby, I think. I'm not sure what that is. That's a booby. Yeah, this one was a booby also. And boobies are related to pelicans too. Yeah. Figure 9.6.
Is that a shearwater next to it? Is that what they look like?
That might be. I don't know what that is. It's a good picture of it though, isn't it, flying by? I can't tell. It's got the little V-shaped tail there. There's different kind of boobies. And I can't remember the name of that one. But there's the this is the blue-footed booby. Can you tell why they call it the blue-footed booby? It's got blue feet. This one right here is called a Nazca booby, I think. Blue-footed booby. And this is a frigate bird. They call them frigate birds because what the frigate birds do is they steal food from other birds. So another bird that's gotten a fish or something, the frigate bird will fly around and wait till it sees that one, and then it'll swoop in and steal it. And that's why they call it a frigate bird, because a frigate is a pirate ship that comes in and steals stuff from other ships and leaves real fast.
Is that on Nemo when they're saying mine, mine, mine? Is that those?
Yeah, I think those are frigate birds, yeah. And they would, when we were in the Galapagos, they would just circle over our boat. This is a frigate bird, is blown up. The males will blow up their chest and put air in it and blow it up real big. And apparently that's attractive to a female. And so the females will come and mate with the males that have the reddest, biggest air pouch. That's what they like. That pouch will stay inflated for like 2 weeks. And the bird can't eat while its pouch is inflated. So it sits there and starves. What it'll do is it'll eat a lot, and then in the mating season it won't get to eat at all. Isn't that a good picture? I took that picture. If you go to the Galapagos, these things are just everywhere. You're just walking along and there's one in a bush right there. And it won't fly away because none of them are scared of people. So you just stick your camera right up next to it. It's a great place for photography. There's some blue-footed boobies. That's the parent booby, and that's the baby booby. Baby booby. They have different colored feathers, And what the boobies, the mother and father boobies do is they crap all over the place. And their poop is white, you see. All that is bird doo-doo. Isn't that gross? And then, the babies are white. So the babies are camouflaged with all this white crap. The things flying overhead, you can't see the babies. Isn't that interesting? The crap dries up, and so it wasn't smelly where we were. This is some video I took on the Galapagos. There's a bunch of the iguanas laying around. And that's our guide trying to do a call with some kind of bird. But I think I find some Galapagos, some boobies over here. That's our group just hanging out. So there's sea lions. We'll learn about sea lions next when we talk about mammals. A bunch of sea lions just laying out. I think behind some rocks over here. Walking over behind some rocks, and yeah, there are a couple boobies right there. They're doing their mating dance. I don't know if you can tell they got blue feet here. They have this long mating dance that they do, where they have to move the same way, and they point their beaks, and then they move them around, and they lift their feet up like this. And they spin around, and they just do that over and over. So the boobies like good dancers, basically. That's another baby. What about gulls? Do you recognize this as a gull? Seagull? We got a lot of those around here. Gulls are predators. Some of them, they catch fish and other organisms, maybe little crabs or jellyfish. They'll eat almost anything. They're also scavengers. They'll eat dead stuff that's laying around. You can feed the gulls, throw up potato chips or whatever. They have a wide variety of food that they like to eat. Also related to gulls are terns, puffins, and razorbills. I'll show you some pictures of terns, puffins, and razorbills. They're all related to gulls. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the great auk. The great auk went extinct. It was a giant bird, kind of like the size of an ostrich. The great auk went extinct due to human hunting thousands of years ago. May have been hundreds of years ago. I'm not sure when it went extinct.
It says in the book it went extinct in 1844.
1844, okay, that wasn't too long ago. A couple hundred years ago. The great auk was kind of a slow bird, and the humans could hunt it and shot a bunch of them, and probably also went extinct due to some other reasons. Loss of habitat. I don't know if the great auk was a flyer, or if it was like I think it was like the ostrich, and it was just stuck. That is, can't remember the name of this one. It's another one that was at the Galapagos. And they all had that red eye that was distinctive. Something related to a gull. They were all over the place. Those are terns. You ever seen terns before? Puffins and razorbills have these big, funky looking beaks. There's the gray dog. There's a guy holding one. I guess it was a swimmer. It looked like a flyer. See, it's got the webbed feet. Looks kind of like a penguin, doesn't it? Does it say anything about the gray dog in the reading?
It's on 182, the very one.
Great auks once lived in great numbers in the North Atlantic, but were slaughtered for their eggs, meat, and feathers. The last great auk died in 1844. So they show some of the various feeding strategies, like pelicans will dive in the water, dive after fish. They can go up to 10 feet underwater as they dive in. Some birds will have aerial pursuit, eating smaller birds. Boobies do diving. I'll show you some boobies diving. I got pictures of them. Penguins are swimming underwater. Cormorants can fly and dive and swim some. Shearwaters will dive in. Frigate birds, like I said, they'll steal most of their food. Whoops. Wait a second. Oh, here we go. This is the video I made of boobies diving. Took me like an hour to find one, get one actually diving. That's why that person was cheering for me.
There's a place in Mexico's Gulf of California that is like no other. Its name is Raza. This gem of an island is so small that it can barely be found on a map. It is nevertheless the crucial hub of survival for two species of seabirds that rely on it almost exclusively for their timeless rituals of reproduction. Its scant 142 acres lies surrounded by waters that teem with more life than nearly any other sea on Earth. And so, at breeding time, this flat and barren rock comes to life. Hundreds of thousands of birds coexist on this tiny island for 3 months every summer. In such a confined space, opportunities to steal from one another cannot be overlooked. And though it poses difficulties, these tight and seemingly chaotic colonies will protect them against predators. Leaving the colony will almost certainly prove fatal. A predator is more easily confused when a large colony suddenly takes flight. This is one of the advantages of crowding together. In order for a colony to function, there is a strict social regimen. A chick faces life and death consequences, leaving its nest and trespassing into its neighbor's territory. Survival for these chicks is enough cause for celebration. And what could be more exciting than being able to fly for the first time? For more than 30 years, Dr. Enriqueta Velarde has been studying the seabirds on this amazing island. Her work has had a huge impact in conserving not just Raza, but many fragile habitats within the Gulf of California.
The local people are now aware of the importance of these birds as part of the ecosystem. Students who have participated in projects that I have coordinated are now involved in conservation. It's a very successful story.
Here's another one.
One such place is the Sea of Okhotsk in far eastern Russia. This is the island of Talan. Throughout the long Arctic winter, it's encircled by ice. But as spring approaches, that begins to break up, and seabirds that have spent the winter feeding out on the open ocean far to the south begin to return. Its isolated position and steep cliffs make Talan a perfect nesting site. The tufted puffins arrive first. These are the Pacific cousins of our less spectacular Atlantic species. Horned puffins soon follow. In all, 14 different species return to Talan each spring, and in just a few weeks, the once silent cliffs come alive to the calls of 4 million breeding seabirds. This is a multi-story avian city. Assembling in these dense colonies, after having spent a largely solitary life at sea, provides the birds with the social stimulation that is the key to coordinating their breeding. By nesting and laying together, they ensure that most of their chicks will leave the nest at exactly the same time. Just like the turtles, this is the way they spread the impact of predators. The world's largest eagle, Steller sea eagle, a third as big again as a golden. Throughout the summer, the eagles hunt in Talan's crowded colonies. Riding on the updrafts, they patrol the top of the cliffs, looking out for any kittiwake that ventures too far from the rock face. Suddenly, the huge eagle stoops with the aerial agility of a falcon. Coordinating panic among the kittiwakes confuses their attacker. But the eagle doesn't give up.
Eagle. See, if you have millions of you, though, it doesn't